Right now I'm starting the layout for the cabinet. That's a 2x2 piece of pine that I'm going to use for the first support rail of the cabinet. I'm going to secure it to the van with that stud right there and that seatbelt mounting tab right up there. Now the floor of the van is not exactly flat. I don't really think I can expect anything to be square to the floor, so I just got to kind of cut that to fit. So I'm going to cut this remnant of this 2x2 right at the end of that so that I can build the floor up right there and make up that difference. Now the way this camper is going to work for two people is on the left side with the seat down is where my mattress will be. I'm going to order Alps Mountaineering 4-inch thick, 30-inch wide by 77 inches long, and with the cabinet set like that I end up with an extra inch just for error and being able to easily put it in there. And then on top of the countertop, that's also going to be 30 inches wide through a little creative carpentry, and Bradley will have his mattress up there. And if I make it 24 inches from the floor to the countertop surface, it will also be 24 inches from the countertop to the ceiling. So this piece of wood on the right here is 55 inches long. I need to cut this piece on the left also to 55 inches long, and then I need to cut two 14.5-inch pieces to put on this end and on that end so that I can make the rectangle. And then I'll put those. I got another board to cut for the bottom to build up the bottom because of the difference in the floor where it goes from the front seat to the middle seat area is different, so I gotta build that up a little bit. Alright, I went to Walmart and picked up that water jug, and that is a expandable 1-gallon bucket. I was watching Adventure Van Man on YouTube, and he told me that he had a sink in his van and just didn't use it that much, so he took it out and found that the bucket was just as good as a sink, and then you can move it around and store it easier. So I picked that stuff up, and while I was there I brought my level width so I could park someplace flat and see exactly how much I got to kick this thing up in the front. And I'm really glad that I did, because my eyeball measurements were way off. I need to kick the front of this thing. There's 3.5 inches of drop from right there to the front here where I'm going to have my end of my cabinet. So I got a 2x4 over there, and instead of having a full length thing right here, I'm just going to cut a 2x4 and make a little leg for the bottom of the cabinet, and that's going to be the way it is. It'll be a little bit off the ground, and then I can store stuff underneath it. Maybe I'll even put that little bucket underneath it. And the main reason I went there is because I wanted to make sure I could get a water container that would fit in between the cabinet and the wall right there. And I think I'm going to be tall enough that if I build a shelf I can stick 2 of them in there, and then I'll have 5 gallons of fresh water. Alright, I got the new and improved front leg cut to length, and it's going to look like that, at least on the back side here. This isn't going to be the main entry to the van because this cabinet's going to be kind of in the way, but it will, you'd still be able to get in here if you wanted to. That's 3.5 inches tall. I probably could have added another 1/8 of an inch because it isn't dead nuts perfect, but it's good enough for government work. So now that I've got that rail pretty well sorted out, I'm going to cut that rail to length, cut my middle pieces, put it on my garage floor, and put the box together because my garage is pretty flat. And I'll assemble the bottom rectangle. Alright, I got that piece cut to length, and that's going to be the basic size and layout of the cabinet. It's 55 inches long, and it's 14.5 inches wide between the two boards. So that's, add 3 to that, 14, 50, about 17.5 inches wide on this part, but when it gets up over the air conditioning unit, it's going to be wider. Alright, I drilled pilot holes in each end of the board with a 1/8 inch drill bit, and I looked the boards over and picked the best looking side for the part that's going to be the most visible, hiding the knots and the ugly parts underneath. I'm going to lay them on the garage floor there and glue them and screw them together. Alright, I have the base of the cabinet glued and screwed together, and I've been carefully measuring and cutting legs, and these two front legs I had to sand them a little bit because that plastic that I'm resting it on isn't exactly flat, so to get them to fit better, that one on this side is actually a little bit crooked, but I'm okay with that because it fits tight on both ends of the stick. So I checked it diagonally both directions, and that rectangle is square to itself, and it's level on all four sides within a couple of degrees. So I'm going to go with that and start building the upper portion of it next. Alright, now that I've made the cabinet base, the next step is to start building up. So I have cut 4 equal pieces that are 21.5 inches long to mount on the inside corners of my base and start building up. I'm going to put 2 screws from different directions and glue those in place. Alright, I glued and screwed from both of the outside directions to get these uprights into the corners. Now on this end near to me, I'm going to put in a 2x2 cross brace in between those two, and on the far end I'm going to put in a 2x4 cross brace because I have to make an extension that will pull out of there to make the bed longer when we're in sleeping mode. Alright, I did a little sanding to the lower edge of this cross brace because I needed it for clearance on the rear AC unit. Alright, now that's how that looks when it's installed. The countertop is going to go all the way over to that wall right there, and I'm going to have cupboard doors that go right here that flip open and have supports that come out to support the weight of them, so that I can get the full 32-inch wide sleeping surface that I'm looking for, but I can fold it in and still get this seat up and down when I want to. The next thing I did was cut this end piece and cut the front top piece from the inside of the miter cut. That short piece is 23.5 inches, and the longer piece is 53.5 inches, and that's going to overlap out the end past that top 2x2, and it will miter joint on the outside of these 2x2s. Alright, I'm getting ready to quit for the night. It's starting to get dark and the bugs are coming out. I got a 45-degree miter on that joint right there, and it's kind of giving me a little bit of trouble, so I'm not perfectly happy with the way it fits yet, so I'm going to tinker around with that a little bit more tomorrow before I screw that thing in. But you can kind of see what we're going to be dealing with. It is a much more interesting picture than just seats ripped apart. Well, I'm pretty happy with my progress today. This is going to be a nice height to be an armrest on this side, or to eat, or do just about anything. Still have plenty of room to sit back here and move around, and got a cup holder here. There's a cup holder up on that chair. What eventually is going to happen is when this seat is folded into the floor, I'm going to have basically like cupboard doors that flip open to make this just about, I don't know, 7 or 8 inches wider, so that I can get to my 32-inch width across here, and it will let me have a bed up there and a bed on the floor, and that way Bradley and I can both camp in here and be on separate beds. It probably would have been easier to have one big bed on the floor, but honestly he's pretty squirrely, and I'll sleep better and he'll sleep better if we're on our own mattress. Plus then it allows me to have a cabinet with all of the storage and everything else. I haven't really seen a lot of minivan camper conversions to begin with, and I definitely haven't seen one like this. I got tomorrow off, so it's supposed to be nice. Hopefully I'll get this finished up and get the deck on it tomorrow and work on the doors and the extension for the front there.